I'm not sure why you're here. Maybe you were dragged here by some friends or family members, but I think the majority of you have pit bulls at home or you love the breed. And thank you. Now meet Nana. That cauliflower, bloody-eared little pit bull you see on that screen is the reason why I stand here today. Before I met her, I was unconscious to the epidemic that's currently plaguing our country, to the epidemic that we are all going to end. Nana had been used as a breeding dog and suffered from unimaginable traumas during her 9 years of life. Like prostitutes to pimps, her sole purpose to her owners was to make money for them. Her health or well-being did not matter. All that mattered were the puppies she could birth because puppies meant easy money. Her ears had been so savagely cut off that she was left with about 2 pounds of scar tissue protruding from her ears. They were ravaged with MRSA, among many other bacterial and viral infections. It got so bad we had to have them both surgically removed. Ear canals, everything. She had been so traumatically overbred that her uterus was destroyed. Most of her teeth had been knocked out. She was extremely malnourished and covered in yeast and was left to rot in pain. This poor little dog spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in someone's backyard being used as someone's commodity. And then, just like garbage, she was discarded at the shelter when she became too old. Her purpose had been served and she was rendered useless. She spent every day of her life in pain and misery, likely always fearing when and if she'd be strapped to the breeding stand and raped again. She had been given every reason to fear and despise humans, and frankly she should have, but this was not the case. Just like all of our other rescued pit bulls, she had courage and love, and it was so palpable. The very moment she got into my car, she bonded herself to me, looked at me with these huge, hopeful eyes, and laid her big pit bull head on my lap the entire freedom ride home. In this moment, she knew she was safe, and that moment is why I'm standing here today. To look back on all the progress she's made over the past year is rather overwhelming. This senior pit bull, who was once battered and beaten and slated for death, has trumped every single hurdle that has come her way. She wears her scars with pride and owns her toothless, earless, large-nippled self. Circumstances, her story of misery and abandonment is not. She was one of approximately 4 to 5 million dogs impounded in shelters just last year. Luckily, though, she escaped the fatal demise that nearly 1 million impounded pit bulls face. Yes, 1 million pit bulls who are impounded in shelters every year are killed, many before they're even given a chance at adoption. Let me put that into perspective for you. That means that every day, almost 3,000 pit bulls are euthanized just in shelters. That's 2 pit bulls killed every single minute. By the time this rally is over, almost 200 pit bulls will have been killed just in shelters. This does not include the tens of thousands of dogs who are being abused and forced to fight. Why are they in shelters? Why are they killed? Because they're used, they're abused, and they're discarded like trash, just like Sweet Nana was. I mean, if you watch the news, I'm sure you read many headlines of random acts of animal cruelty. Just in my little suburb of LA County, there was Indy, a young pit bull puppy who was strapped with fireworks and set on fire. Shasta, a young pit bull mix, was transferred to my shelter blind and one-eyed after being beat so badly with a brick and hung and left for dead. Now, luckily for these 2, they were rescued and rehabbed just like Nana. But the reality is that many of these victims remain as just that, victims. Fellow marchers, stories such as Nana's and Indy's and Shasta's are not random. The abuse and exploitation of pit bulls has evolved into a national epidemic. Cruelty is not centralized to one demographic, and it transcends all socioeconomic levels. It happens everywhere, in my town and in your town. Animal cruelty and neglect pose extreme social hazards to the safety of our communities and our very moral progress as human beings. As I was touched upon earlier, it's been proven time and time again that those who abuse or neglect animals in their youth, or who are witnesses to such crimes, are much more likely to go on to commit crimes against humans. And sadly, the prevalence of animal abuse is only skyrocketing among our youth. Whether directly or indirectly, our children are learning to accept that using and abusing and abandoning dogs is okay, because the less empathy they see, the less empathy they practice. It is no longer a problem for just the pit bull lover community. This has become a social crisis with many social ramifications, because if we cannot be kind to animals, we cannot be kind to one another. Fellow marchers, the time has come for all of us to join together to take action and to end abuse. The 3,000 pit bulls that will be murdered today do not have the time for us to sit quiet and idle, waiting for somebody else to do something. No action is too small, no voice is too quiet. Together we are powerful, and together we can save lives. The solutions lie in every single one of us, and I challenge each and every one of you to do something today to better the lives of dogs tomorrow. It shouldn't even be said, but always consider adoption, and tell everyone you know to do the same. If you're not looking to adopt soon, then try to volunteer. If you don't have the time to volunteer, then donate. Donate your used blankets, your toys, your towels, you name it, they have a need for it. In fact, all of your skills are needed. Use them to get involved. One post on your social media page has the power to reach thousands of people and to not only save lives, but to bring justice to those victims who have been tortured and killed. Above all else, when you leave here today, I want all of you to do at least one very important thing: spread awareness. Go online and learn about the different ways you can help combat the root of the problem. Further educate yourselves about the issues and the underlying causes of animal abuse and neglect. Decide what you can do to help. And then take every single opportunity that you can to use your voice and educate others, because education is powerful. It is the weapon for change. So why must we do it? For all of the Indies and the Shastas and the millions of invisible victims out there. We must do it for Nana, for everything her eyes have seen and for everything her body has suffered for. She is the eyes of every other abused dog who will be strapped to a breeding stand and traumatically raped. She is the eyes of the thousands of pit bulls who are currently being tortured and forced to fight. She is the eyes of the millions of dogs losing their minds in cold concrete kennels simply because they were no longer wanted. For the millions of dogs who are killed in shelters every single year. For their lifeless bodies which are wrapped in plastic bags and discarded like trash. And for all of the shelter workers who are forced to inject that needle. She and the millions like her are the reason we must come together. It is up to you and you and you and me to stop animal abuse and start saving lives. Because if not now, then when? If not you, then who? Thank you.